Some people think the Great Axe is a brain-dead weapon, an unskillful, amateur-hour face-roll option of weaponry. You wanna know what I think? I see a Great Axe. A full-size 4x4 Jeep Wrangler Transforma Giga Chad Alpha Male. We're not just spinning to win, we're out here mowing the grass of the battlefield, chopping down every peasant in sight, and weed whacking like we're getting paid for it. So the next time you pick up a Great Axe, just know you're not just choosing a weapon, you're choosing a goddamn lifestyle. Welcome to the Great Axe Club. Welcome to Scripted Gaming. Sup guys, Border here with Scripted Gaming and the Great Axe Club, and welcome back to a brand new video. About a year ago, I released a YouTube series relating to the rare animals of Albion Online and the offsprings that they have a chance to drop. And you guys really seem to enjoy this type of content, so I figured why not make a new video, but focus on the more modern, updated version of the game, which includes the newer and older crystal creatures. So that is what today's video is going to be all about. Let the hunt begin. I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you do, be sure to like and subscribe, and catch us streaming here on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 PM UTC. But without further ado, let's get into it. And so, our journey took us into the Black Zone with our trusty Battleaxe. And the build, you might be wondering, is a very cheap and affordable PvE option that goes a little something like this. The Battleaxe, of course, a torch, a skull or cowl, a mercenary jacket, and of course any shoe, leather shoe for a refreshing sprint, and I like to go for poison potions and roast pork. After roaming through our first Black Zone, it wasn't long before we discovered our first crystal creature, which was the crystal spider. And truthfully, it was pretty easy to find. As of recent updates, they increased the amount of crystal creatures you'll find out in the Black Zone, but sadly the loot and fame has been reduced by a fair bit, so they're not overly profitable from farming, but it can still be a decent amount of fun. In terms of the actual fight itself, the crystal spider is a pretty easy and beginner-friendly crystal creature to get into. I have around 11 to 1200 IP and had no issue taking on tier 5, tier 6 spiders. The only two abilities that you really have to look out for this spider is the jumping spider ability, which is pretty tough to dodge, I'll be honest. It comes out pretty fast, but as long as you have a decent sustain build like the Battleaxe for example, you'll have no issue healing through the damage. The only other ability you want to look out for is when the spider places the crystal circle on the ground. That's not something you want to stand in, but otherwise it's a pretty easy fight. This crystal spider in the open world did have 23,000 health, so it took me about 2.5 minutes to complete, but as you can see here, we were successful in taking it down. We loot the rewards, and unfortunately, they're not very satisfying. I don't have premium on this character, but even then, it's pretty underwhelming. But I have a little bit of a tip where you guys may be able to make a little bit better use of your time killing the crystal spiders. I was able to find a tier 6 arcane spiderling in a uncommon quality miss, and as you can see here, the spider only had 8500 health, and you can also see the loot was way better, and it also gave me something like 260 might and over 200,000 fame. So overall, if you're going to get into farming spiders, I'd highly recommend finding a mist, preferably quality of uncommon or better, and go ahead and farm those. So with the arcane spiders conquered, we moved on to the next crystal creature on the list, which was the crystal beetle, a new crystal creature which was added with the Horizons update. And honestly, finding it relatively easy. The fight itself was actually pretty simple at first, dodging most of the basic frontal abilities and whatnot, but then came these bubbles, and it posed a real issue. Essentially, if the bubbles, or circles, or whatever you want to call it, reaches the crystal beetle before you squish them by interacting with them, you basically take a lot of damage and you'll likely die from it. Now, in efforts to squish all the bubbles before they reach the crystal creature, I made an effort to save my boots, my sprint ability, to run around and squish them all before they got to the beetle itself, but I was still having difficulties getting all of them. So what did I do? I switched my build up a little bit. I went to a cleric robe, or sorry, a cleric cowl, and that is going to give me the ice block ability. And you may ask why. Well, as you can see here, I would save my ice block ability for this bubble phase. So when the bubbles were about to reach the crystal creature, I would simply just sit in my ice block and be immune to all that damage and basically just bypass that phase easy. Now, you should know that ice block does have a relatively long cooldown. I believe it's like 90 seconds now. So I wasn't able to ice block every single bubble phase, but in between I would just save my boots to sprint around, collect the bubbles as best as I could, and if I took any damage, just heal through it with the Battleaxe build essentially. So following the recommended tips that I just gave you guys, we were successfully able to take out the Crystal Beetle, this one at tier 5. Unfortunately, you can see here, again, the rewards weren't very great as for the nerf in terms of the rewards overall, but we were able to take him out successfully at tier 5, and I think you could potentially solo this at a higher tier with a little bit higher IP. And with the 2 out of 3 crystal creatures completed, that leaves us to the last one on the list, which is the Crystal Cobra, the King Cobra. And let me tell you guys right away, this one is not easy to solo. And let's go over the fight really quick just so you understand. The auto attacks do moderate damage, but the big issue with this one in terms of soloing is when he marks you with a blue circle that expires once it reaches all the way around you and deals heavy single target damage. That one is a big scary bit of damage. He also drops crystal circles on the ground. Of course, you don't want to stand in these. Aside from that, he also does like a crystal cone breath. Essentially, there'll be things spawning underneath you that will deal damage, so you want to keep moving out of that as much as you can. And I'll be completely honest with you guys, the first handful of attempts against the Crystal Cobra, it was rough. I got absolutely smoked. Getting so low on HP, I had to jump back on my mount and reset him, or potentially getting knocked down altogether. Overall, I wasn't even coming close to being able to defeat him solo, so yeah, really tough mob here. With that said, I wasn't gonna give up so easy. I was able to make minor adjustments to my build, the first of which being the leather hood that I swapped to. I actually went to cleanse. As I mentioned before, the main issue with this mob is when he marks you for death with that circle, that blue circle ability, it deals crazy amounts of damage. But if you are able to use cleanse, you can remove the debuff altogether and avoid that damage. Essentially, I also switched to dodge on my boots, specifically using it to dodge that, again, that circle ability, avoiding all that damage. So we were able to make a better attempt at this Crystal Cobra with the changes that I just mentioned. But unfortunately with these changes, even then, it was still a little bit of a long shot. We were pretty far from being able to solo him. We were surviving a little bit, dodging those abilities, healing through the rest with our Battleaxe build here. But overall, the boss just deals so much damage to the point where we run out of cooldowns and are unable to have that amount of sustain to solo him. So unfortunately at this point I wasn't able to do it, not at this IP. Maybe with a lot higher IP, maybe with an awakened weapon of some sort, it could be possible. But with my IP right now, I was unable to solo it at tier 5. And so this might be a moment where you need to resort to the power of friendship, which is exactly what I ended up doing here. There's a couple of Great Axe Club members randomly just running past me in the zone, happened to stumble across me while I was struggling to solo this Crystal Cobra, and they offered to help. So essentially I switched to a Nature Staff. I'm not much of a Nature Staff player, so please ignore the horrible footage. But I was able to help heal them a little bit. Unfortunately, I did run out of energy towards the end, so I did get knocked down in the end here. But the 2 remaining Great Axe Club players were able to clutch it out and finish off the Cobra. So big shoutouts to them. We were able to get it done. I was able to loot it in the end. I think it was 58k silver. Nothing too fantastic, but at the very least, we were able to take down this menacing tier 5 Crystal Cobra. But overall, crystal creatures, a lot of fun, especially if you're just into it more for like the challenge and the glory of being able to solo them, then you can have a lot of fun that way. And I also really enjoyed the update, how they added more crystal creatures. I really hope they continue to add, whether if it's more crystal creatures or more rare spawns out in the open world or the mists or wherever. It allows us to make a little bit more out of this hunt for the rare creatures and rare animals of Albion Online. But if you do enjoy this type of content, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I can potentially make more videos of me hunting down these rare creatures of Albion Online. And yeah, we can definitely go from there. Otherwise, be sure to like and subscribe the video. That way SBI can put me back in the content creator program, where I could then provide you guys with 7-day codes of premium and stuff like that. Otherwise, that about does it for me, guys. I'll see you guys in the stream here on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. UTC, that's Universal Time. And of course, another weekly upload every Monday here on YouTube as well. But until next time, stay safe, stay positive, and I'll see you in the Discord. Peace.